back to the heart.
What if the life you've been searching for starts the moment you return to your heart? Welcome to Back to the Heart, the podcast for people who are ready to release old stories, embody their truth, and create a life that feels aligned, safe, and real. I'm your host, Amanda Roa, Identity Expansion and Embodiment Coach. And here we talk about healing through storytelling, nervous system regulation, self-trust, and tools that help you come home to yourself. You'll hear powerful conversations with guests sharing the breakthroughs that changed their lives, and you'll also get solo episodes with insights, language shifts, and real life practices to help you reconnect with who you are and call in the kind of love you once believed only existed in fairy tales. Let's get into today's episode. Did you know you can be doing everything quote unquote right and still feel like you're living the same year on repeat? Like you're checking the boxes, you're surviving the days, doing the healing work, but something still feels stuck. Welcome back to the Heart podcast, and happy 1-year anniversary to this show. I am Amanda, and I am excited that you are here. In today's solo episode, I'm going to be sharing the biggest thing I learned in 2025 and how I went from living in repeating patterns to feeling fully alive again and actually believing the words, I love my life, I love myself, and what a life I get to live. If you are someone who feels like you are outgrowing old versions of you, if you've been doing the work but you're ready to embody it, this episode is for you. I want to take a moment and celebrate. In 2025, I released 38 episodes with more in the queue, and honestly, I had no idea whenever I started this podcast how much my life was going to evolve in just 1 year. I've had the honor of meeting and learning from so many incredible guests, people who share their healing journeys, their breakthroughs, their stories, their vulnerabilities. And the truth is, I've learned from so many mentors along the way too. Books and podcasts and apps and events and coaches, programs, and various communities. So I'm sharing this because if you've ever felt like you're doing this healing journey alone, you are in great company. You are not alone. Here's one of the biggest things I learned in 2025. Sometimes you have to feel uncomfortable to get to the next level of your life, because so many of us get trapped in habits and patterns that feel familiar, and we call that comfortable, when really it's just uncomfortably comfortable. I think about how many people are living that way today, numb, checked out, just going through the motions, just trying to manage life instead of enjoying life. And it makes me think of that song, Comfortably Numb. I heard it so much as a kid, and it just really hits differently now that I'm thinking about the words and understanding it on a completely different level. Because that's where I used to live. And maybe you've been there too. So if you're in a season where you're being called out of your comfort zone, I want you to hear me when I say this. It's worth it. There is so much on the other side. My story begins on Groundhog Day. I was born on February 2nd. Groundhog Day, which is literally a day about shadows, cycles and repeating patterns. And looking back, it makes perfect sense because for years I lived an emotional Groundhog Day, repeating the same relationship patterns, repeating identity loops, repeating behaviors, repeating stories over and over again. And I didn't realize I was stuck inside versions of myself that I didn't choose. They were versions that I inherited, versions I absorbed, versions I created for survival. I was a woman who lost herself in relationships, people pleased to feel safe. I became a chameleon for everyone around me. I attached my identity to external validation, and I felt disconnected from my body and my intuition. I carried family expectations, religious conditioning, and childhood stories. And I didn't know who I was without the chaos or the caretaking. And my body reflected that disconnect. I dealt with autoimmune symptoms, inflammation, surgery after surgery, and I didn't know it then, but my body was screaming for me to listen. I was living an identity built from fear, not truth. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't enjoying life. I was just checking all the boxes. And in 2020, after my last surgery, I remember making a decision. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to repeat this. I'm not going to keep living this same cycle. I'm not going to keep managing symptoms and calling it a life. I chose me. And from the outside, someone might call it an uncurable situation. But what I learned is that the dis-ease in the body is often connected to a deeper connection from yourself. And I started reconnecting. Not through perfection, but through devotion. And then there was the relationship part. After 2 divorces before I turned 40, I remember having this thought like, what do I even have left to offer? And I wanted real love. That kind of love that feels like it only exists in movies. The kind of love that feels emotionally safe, mature, inspirational, secure. And here's what I learned. You can't receive the love you think you deserve if you're not giving that same love to yourself. It doesn't matter who is in the mirror in front of you if you aren't meeting yourself in the mirror first. And as I built self-trust, as I came back into my body, as I stopped betraying my own truth, I stopped losing myself. I stopped people-pleasing to feel safe. I started becoming safe for me. And that changed everything. So now, in January 2026, I'm living a life I used to secretly dream about. And I know that might trigger something for some people. So I want to slow down here because I want to ask you something. How do you feel when you hear me say this? I love my life. I love myself. What a life I get to live. How does it feel inside your body? Does it feel like truth? Or does it feel uncomfortable? Does it feel tight in your chest? Or maybe it's in your throat? Or is it your stomach? Because just a year ago, there was no way I could have said those words and felt them as truth. 2 years ago, definitely not. 3 years ago, I was hitting a wall. But now, I can say them and feel them with certainty, with belief, with embodiment. And if you can't feel that yet, I want you to know something. You are not broken. Your body is just giving you information. So let's do this together right now. Take a deep breath with me. And I want you to say this out loud, wherever you are. I love my life. Where do you feel it? Now say, I love myself. Just notice. No judgment, no forcing it, no pretending. Because embodiment starts with honesty. And when you start telling the truth, you start returning to your heart. And this is why I coach, because I've lived in the loop and I know what it feels like to wake up and feel you're repeating the same emotional day with different details. And I know what it feels like to break the cycle, to regulate your nervous system, to release what you've been carrying, and to choose your identity, to build self-trust, to come home to your body, to feel safe being you. And those aren't quick fixes. They are skills. And once you learn them, your entire life changes. And that brings me to what I am so excited to share. I'm opening a new heart-led container called Soul to Solstice, a Back to the Heart Journey into Soul partnership. It begins February 17th, aligned with the Lunar New Year, and it runs through the summer solstice. And this is for you if you are ready to return to your heart, to deepen self-trust, to feel safe in your body, and to embody the kind of love that starts within and ripples outward, to reconnect with yourself and call in that kind of love you once thought wasn't real, because I'm telling you, it is real. It exists, and it begins with you. If your heart feels the yes, trust it. You can book your intro call using the link in the show notes below. I am so grateful you are here. Thank you for being part of this first year of Back to the Heart. And I can't wait to show you what is possible in 2026.